Okay, the time definitely is going on. Jesus Christ. Okay. Carlos and Alicia, off we go. We're heading towards the port in a black sedan driven by Ye. She had received reliable information that Mr. Lin had some business at the warehouse there tonight, and I should be able to see him. Before heading out, Ye had prepared all kinds of weapons, even some hand grenades. She said I had already become an enemy of the Black Dragon Gang, and showing up like this after escaping prison was practically committing suicide. If I insisted on going, we had to be prepared. But all of the weapons were too difficult for me to use. It took me forever to figure out how to use the handgun, not to mention the others. So in the end I decided to only take a gun with me. No matter what happened tonight, I had to take this opportunity and get an answer from Mr. Lin. We were about 1 kilometer away from the fort when Ye stopped the car. I opened the door. To be honest, I wish you wouldn't leave me. Ye grabbed at my clothes. There was barely any human traffic around here, nothing except the group of trees nearby. It felt a little creepy indeed. But I have to go. How about I leave you the gun? You idiot, that's not what I mean. Her face became red. For some reason my heart was suddenly beating faster, and my face was getting red too, even hot. I even felt my hair perking. Was this what they called... Yi pulled her hand back into the car. I'll be waiting here. Then she rolled up the window. I stared at her from outside, nodded my head and walked towards the port. No matter what, I must come back in one piece. I had so many things I wanted to tell her. Halfway to the port, I heard a strange sound of a bird chirping. It didn't sound like regular birds, and I began to worry about Ye. I ran back to where the car was. The black sedan was still there, but the driver's side door was wide open and there was no one inside the car. I saw a few drops of blood on the ground near the door. I got into the car, and started the engine. I was driving at the highest speed possible. I went through every single road and alley I could find nearby, but I couldn't find any other cars or people that looked suspicious. The sun had come out and I still couldn't find Ye. In the end I didn't see Mr. Lin at the port, and I had lost Ye. She was gone just like that. There were too many people who had a reason to harm her. It could be an enemy of the Blood Gang, or it could be someone who had a personal grudge like Mr. Kwan. It was all my fault. I should not have let her wait for me there. Lord, please bring her back to me. Okay, hurry up. Let's go home. I didn't hold a funeral for Suko. The night of his death, the man and the woman in blue tracksuits came over. They told me that they had been his long-time designated body handlers. There was no sign of grief on their faces. They just moved his body into a body bag like it was business as usual. They enlisted and cancelled a phone number. His favorite 3-month-old adult magazine was also thrown into the body bag and taken away. All that was left to me was Suko's own credentials, to his business app, and all of the contact information for his informants over the years. He seemed to know that I would need all of this one day. In one night, it was almost as if this person had never even existed. It was like magic. Well, it befitted the style of the magician. I didn't wait until the next day. I followed the lead that Zuko had given me and contacted multiple informants of his. I quickly located the address of the man who had delivered the bomb to my house. Vengeance was not my only purpose. Another thing that had caught my attention was the small item that Zuko had taken off the bomb. It was such a unique item that I recognized it instantly. There was no mistake. I had made something similar to this over a dozen times myself. I couldn't be more familiar with the technique. When he came back from the laundry, still humming a tune, he didn't notice my existence at all. After he had given the password to his contact system, Assassin number 7, one of my younger colleagues, lay on the floor with a hand covering his slit throat. He was looking at me with a face full of regrets as I sat in his computer chair wearing his baseball cap. I lit a cigarette. Memories were flooding through me. Ray never smoked. He said smoking would make a person dull, so he always had a bottle of gum with him, and he would take one whenever he needed to be alert. I had eventually developed the same habit of spending so much time with him, but now I pursed my lips, watched the white smoke leaving my mouth, twisting in the air and disappearing. Those memories of us should disappear just like the smoke. 2 a.m., the other side finally logged on. Mission accomplished. Did she say something? Not exactly, but she had something she wanted me to pass on to you. In 3 days, 4 a.m., Warehouse 5 at the port. As he logged off, Zuko's app buzzed. There was a new order and the payment was good. Coincidentally, the target of this order was the same person that I was going to meet. The wind tonight felt unusually cold. Ray had just finished his business and had sent away his men. He was standing under the streetlight in front of Warehouse 5 by himself and had just put a piece of gum in his mouth. Oh god. The fallen leaves were swept up into the air by the wind and blown towards where I was hiding. He looked up. His eyes squinted, his mouth curled into a perfect arc. It was the same expression he had on his face every time he saw me in the past. I turned my head and looked away. I knew it was just a trick that he was using to play me, but I just couldn't force my finger to pull the cold trigger. A gunshot. I wiped away the tears. I was leaning on a rock near the dam, facing the ocean, with Ray's coat over my shoulders. My mind was slipping away from me, along with the warmth as it slowly left my body. Is Mexico on the other side of the ocean? No, I don't think it is the right direction. The ocean is so dark. When is the sun going to come out? Carlos must be in class right now. Maybe school is almost over. Is it snowing? No, it can't be. I must be dreaming. Must be. Heavenly Father, please take me to him. Don't let me wander in the wilderness alone, please. Okay. Let's see. Okay, this is... Let's go for that, I guess. I couldn't take my shot as tears blurred my right eye. 2 gunshots. I wiped away the tears. Okay. Yep, this is just the same again. Let's see. There's not many options we have here. So it shouldn't be too difficult to figure out. I sent Ye away in her black sedan and immediately ran towards the port. It was almost daytime. There were no fishermen around yet and everything was so quiet at the port. Whereas 5 was located at a corner on the outskirts of the port. Oh, they're meeting up. I could already see it in the distance. Then I heard a loud gunshot coming from that direction. When I finally got there, I saw 2 people in the dam in front of the warehouse. The one standing was Mr. Lin, whom I hadn't seen for over half a year. He was holding a gun in his raised left hand. The other one on the ground was a woman. She had long and curly maroon hair and she was lying motionless in a puddle of blood. It had been too many years since I had last seen her, but I could still recognize her in a heartbeat. I couldn't understand what had happened and why it had to happen right before my eyes. My brain had gone completely blank. In the numbness, I raised the gun Ye had given me. Okay, I still think... wait. I don't know. Wait. Okay, this doesn't work. What about this? What about this? Okay. Two gunshots. His bullet grazed my left shoulder, and mine went through his right eye. I stood upon the dam facing the dark ocean, with Ray's coat over my shoulders. I could still feel the final warmth from his body. Tears were streaming down my face and dancing in the wind. Eventually, the warmth was gone. Farewell, Ray. I pushed his already cold body down the dam, and it kept rolling into the pitch-black water below. In the middle of the waves, I thought I heard Carlos calling my name. I turned around. The wind had blown Ray's coat off my shoulders, and had carried the coat into the ocean. On the other side of the road, my younger brother, whom I hadn't seen in 9 years, was standing under a streetlight. It wasn't a dream. It really wasn't a dream this time. He wasn't moving, though. He must have seen me push Ray down. I didn't know whether I should go forward or back away. I never imagined that this would be how our Heavenly Father would punish me. Meanwhile, seeing Carlos at that moment made me temporarily lose my assassin's instincts. I didn't even notice the amateur who had followed behind Carlos and was now staring at me from behind the cargo container 20 meters away from me. He was just an amateur with an amateur weapon, but he got me. The bullets went straight through my heart. I only had 7 seconds left. I stepped forward, 20 meters away. 6 seconds, 16 meters, 5 seconds, 10 meters, 4 seconds, 4 meters, 3 seconds. I touched his hand. 2 seconds. I kissed his forehead. 1 second. Forgive me. I sent Ye away in her black sedan and immediately ran towards the port. It was almost daytime. There were no fishermen around yet, and everything was so quiet at the port. Warehouse 5 was located at a corner on the outskirts of the port. I could already see it in the distance. Then I heard a loud gunshot come from that direction. When I finally got there, I saw 2 people on the dam in front of the warehouse. One of them had just pushed the other down the dam. It was Mr. Lin. He had just fallen into the ocean. The one standing on the dam was a woman. Her long and curly maroon hair was dancing wildly in the wind. It was almost like death was cheering her on. It had been too many years since I'd last seen her, but I could still recognize her in a heartbeat. I hesitated, then called out her name. She turned around, our eyes met. I was right, it was her. It was Alicia. It was my big sister. I couldn't understand what I was feeling, and I couldn't move my feet even 1 inch. Another gunshot came out of nowhere. I didn't realize it had anything to do with us at first. Not until Alicia had come so close to me did I notice that blood was coming out of her chest. She had been bleeding as she walked from where she was all the way to where I was. It was like a little red stream following her footsteps. She touched my hand and kissed my forehead. She said something, but it was too quiet and I couldn't hear it. My tears were flooding down my face uncontrollably. They were dropping on her hands, on her face. Why would this happen to me, to us? Okay. Wait. How do we... no, this is still bad. What about this? No, this... Actually, I have to have this over here. Do I? Wait. There's only one solution to this that I haven't tried yet, apparently. This can't be placed over here. I haven't tried this? Oh, yeah, that's right, I haven't. Wait, give me 1 second. Alright, 2 gunshots. His bullet grazed my left shoulder, and mine went through his right eye. Yeah, we've read that. I turned my head and looked away. I stood upon the dam facing the dark ocean. Zuko's app had just received another order. It seemed quite dangerous. I threw his coat into the air and let the wind carry it into the ocean. I set my destination for the next target. Time to go. So that's an S rank for her, but it's bad for Carlos. But that is... Oh. There is 2 more options for Carlos. I don't suppose I can change this down here. No. What about something like this? No. What about this? No. What about this? Yep. That might be it. But I have to go. You idiot, that's not what I mean. Her face became red. For some reason my heart was suddenly beating faster, and my face was getting red too, even hot. I even felt my hair perking up. Was this what they called love? Ye pulled her hand back into the car. I'll be waiting here. Then she rolled up the window, but I put my hand on the closing window. Wait! I had noticed something in the trees earlier. It could just be some animals, but it could also be someone following us. Ye was the princess of the blood gang. I couldn't leave her here by herself. I walked around the area for a little while after Ye had driven away, making sure nobody was following her. I waited until there was no more unusual rustling in the trees and then continued walking to the port. I was walking so slowly, all I could think about was Ye. I didn't even notice that it had started snowing. It was almost daytime when I finally arrived at the port. Mr. Lin was nowhere to be seen. There were only a few fishermen arguing about whether they should still go fishing in the unusual weather. I turned around. All of my earlier footprints had been covered by the snow. It was white all around me. Suddenly I couldn't even remember which direction I had come from, nor did I know where I should go next. I had missed another chance to find my sister. I was such an idiot. Still, no news might be good news too. I still had plenty of time to keep looking for her. Or was I being too hopeful? No, being hopeful was a good thing. Alicia used to tell me that all the time. I should keep being hopeful. That would be the right thing to do. Right, Big Sis must still be out there somewhere. Perhaps she was watching the same snow as I. Yep, okay, that's an S for both. And that's the end for both, interestingly enough. Okay, what do I still need to do? This is not over. Chang Yun-min. Off we go. Key evidence. The wind was so strong that I could barely open my eyes when I came out of Officer Minjun's home. I held the recorder in my hand as tightly as I could. It was the final lead that Officer Minjun had left for us. It was also the only evidence that could prove Lieutenant Kang's innocence. Lieutenant Kim had been behind everything the entire time. No wonder he wouldn't let me get anywhere near the case. I would never have expected that I would be living in a movie thriller about traitors in the police force. I put the recorder back into the back pocket of my pants when I sensed somebody looking at me from a nearby building. I looked up just in time to see a dark shadow moving away from the window. I had a bad feeling, so I started running. No matter what happened, I had to take the evidence to the police station and hand it to someone I could trust. On my way back to the station, there was a pedestrian bridge. At the other end of the bridge were some woods. I could see 9 amateurs hiding in the shadows of the trees, staring at me. One of them had just turned off his flashlight. Their weaknesses were out in the open. So these were the people who Lieutenant King had sent after me, Kim? No, maybe they had been sent here to kill me. Perhaps the shadow I had seen early in the window saw me leaving. They had realized that I might have something on them. Even still, these losers were no match for me at all. Fine, come at me. I might as well just send them all into jail. I stomped my right foot hard on the ground and dashed across the bridge in a zigzag. I heard 16 gunshots, but by the time the bullets' casings fell to the ground, I was already hiding high up in a tree in the woods. The mob beneath me was panicking. After all, they were just a bunch of pathetic lackeys who had no formal training. Some of them were even stupid enough to turn their flashlights back on, exposing their positions. I'd always thought that the police were a symbol of justice. Never would I have imagined that one day I would be fighting against them. But I knew better now. It didn't matter who the opponent was. What mattered was that justice will prevail. I checked again to make sure the recorder was still tucked safely in my back pocket. Then I held my tail in my palm. I leapt down from the tree and pounced Bai Hui Shui, one of the acupuncture points in the human body according to traditional Chinese medicine. The earliest record of being mentioned could be found in acupuncture scripture, an ancient Chinese gospel in acupuncture. It is located at the intersection between the center line on top of the person's head and the line that goes over the top of the skull and connects the ears. It is the highest acupuncture point in the human body. According to Shaolin scripture on fist fighting, the art of acupressure recognizes 36 critical acupuncture points. Bai Hui Shui is one of them. Modern science has yet to confirm the effect of acupressure and acupuncture points. However, according to TCM theories, acupressure is supposed to be effective in some cases. For instance, rubbing Bai Hui Shui likely could help a person become more focused and alert on free men under the cover of the rustling leaves. These idiots all had their flashlights on. One was wearing a Hawaiian shirt, another was in a pair of beach shorts, and the last one was in a leather jacket. All three of them fell, one after another. There were 6 other men nearby. I climbed back up the tree. I repeated the attack several times. Soon I had taken several of them out. A bullet grazed me near my back pocket. I could feel the burn on my butt. I reached for my back pocket. I jumped down out of the tree. The 9th man was also taken out after I hit him in the same acupuncture point. The bullet had punctured my back pocket. The recorder I had put inside it was smashed into pieces and scattered all over the grass. Damn it! I was too careless. I thought it was the 9th man who had fired at me, but I realized that he wasn't even carrying a gun when I had come down out of the tree. So there was someone else who had taken the shot. I looked around. I couldn't see any sign of a 10th person. Whoever it was, they must be someone good, Alicia, and they might have already left the scene. Their only purpose must have been to destroy the evidence, not to kill me. They must have had total confidence that even if I had told someone about what I had witnessed and heard in person, no one would ever believe me. Now I had lost my only concrete evidence. Damn it, how could I let this happen? I punched a nearby tree out of frustration. I hit it so hard that a few bird nests fell out. I heard birds chirping in panic above me and the sound of their wings flapping. Please, Buddha, please guide me. If I can avenge Officer Minjun, prove Lieutenant Kang's innocence, and defend justice, I'm willing to give everything I have. All right. Okay. I don't know, something like this. Reach for your back pocket first. I felt my butt with my hand. Luckily, the bullet had only grazed my pants and had not hurt me. Feeling a little relieved, I looked up to see where the bullet had come from. The moon peeked out from behind the rain clouds. The 10th person walked out from behind a tree 4 meters away. Moonlight shone through the trees and cast a spotty shadow upon his face. It was a face that resembled an old and cunning fox. Okay, so not Alicia. He looked to be around 40 years old. His eyes and mouth were slightly bent, forming a ruthless expression on his face. Where is it? His voice was, squeaky, perfect match for his looks. Without saying one word, I flung my tail towards him and it quickly wrapped around his right hand, which was holding his gun. The tail was wrapping more and more tightly around his wrist, but before I could force him to drop the gun, he raised his left hand to support the other. Then he pulled the trigger. I raised my left arm in front of my face. The bullet pierced through the skin and drilled into the muscle. However, it stopped next to my radial bone. I put down my arm, but before I could see what was going on, the old fox had charged right up in front of me. He poked 2 fingers straight into my eyes. A horrifying scream echoed in the woods. The birds fluttered and scattered as they flew away. I surrender. I knelt on the ground and covered my eyes with one hand while warm blood oozed out of them. I pounded the ground, defeated. What you want isn't a bird nest in that Oh, that's still him. What you want isn't a bird nest in that tree, over there. The old fox heard what I had said and walked behind me and to my left. He stood there for a moment and bent his knees just a little. The final piece of evidence was going to fall into his hands. Or not. My tail morphed into a silver spear, heading straight towards the old fox's chest. Attack number 10, heart-piercing spear. The old fox must have never expected that a blind foe could still fight back. He probably regretted not killing me when he had the chance, but his chance was gone. The tail went through his heart and he could only let out a gasp. Then he fell to the ground. He was dead. I stood back up, wiped the blood off of my face so that I could see a little, albeit not well. Despite my mostly red limited field of vision, I jumped up the tree and fetched the recorder from the bird nest. I couldn't delay for one more moment. I continued running towards the station, hoping that nothing else would go wrong. Nice S rank there. There's even more. We only really have these two, but I'm not sure if this one has what it needs yet. What have I? I've only tried 2 options, and I think it said, yeah, and I couldn't find evidence against him either. Let's just try a couple. When I heard the sound of the bullet cutting through the air, I knew that it was already too late. There was no time to dodge nor to pull Kim up as a shield. They must have had a thermal scope to be able to shoot even with the curtains blocking the view. The bird chirping must have been a signal for the shot so that Kim would separate from me. Damn it, they got me. I had seen people being shot by a sniper rifle countless times, but it was still difficult to describe the feeling of being hit myself. I watched as the bullet entered the front of my body. I could feel it blast a gigantic hole in my back, but I couldn't feel the pain nor the heat. All I could feel was that it was all over. Okay, yeah. That sounds bad, for sure. I have no time to think about this rationally. Try a couple of random things, see if any of them work, and if not, I'll go back to Spotty's message. The sniper's shot from afar destroyed Lieutenant Kim's shoulder blade. My instincts had immediately pulled Kim in front of me as a shield when the wind blew open the curtains, in case there was a sniper. Otherwise, I would have been the one that got hit. The bird chirping must have been a signal for the shot. I pulled Kim up off of the floor. When I grabbed his shoulder, I intentionally stuck my right hand into his wound. He let out a scream of pain. Keep screaming, you'd better let everyone out there hear you. The sniper vanished almost instantaneously. It was complete chaos on the ground. It seemed like the old man had not ordered the shot. It must be that stupid pretty face again. The loudspeaker buzzed again. Personally, yeah, we've read all of this before in a past episode. A little more time to find definite evidence to convict Kim. Yeah, I sat down by the wall next to Kim and waited for the old man to send his people in. I was exhausted. A few minutes later, a 5-person team entered the house. Strangely, they were all wearing bulletproof vests. Yep, we've also read that. Yep. And dead. Yeah. Oh, no, they were flying above me. Oh no, it was me who had just fallen to the floor. Something had just grabbed my ankle and pulled me down. All 5 of them were in shock for a brief moment before one of them was suddenly struck down after being hit by a palm from above. 1 down. The second one was kicked in his crotch. He curled up into a ball and rolled to the corner. 2 down. The third one was hit by a series of heavy punches, the last of which sent him flying to the other end of the living room, knocking out the 4th man. Only 1 left. When his weapon was snatched from his hand by a white ribbon, he was so scared that he jumped out of the broken window immediately. All of a sudden, there was nobody left in the room but Kim, me, and that stupid kid, Chang Yeon-min. He was breathing heavily and had blood all over his face. He must have been through some stuff earlier too. He tossed me a small metal box. It was a recorder. I pressed play. Kim's voice came out. Next to us, Lieutenant Kim wet himself upon hearing his own voice. Hey, where the hell did you... I stopped myself. Oh, that was him. Okay. I realized that the kid had fallen asleep. He had fallen asleep while he was standing up. I moved the kid's right arm over my shoulder. I felt his coat rub against the old scar on my neck. I'd gotten it when I was still a kid, trying to save someone from a fire. I was 13 years old, and I happened to be walking past a burning house. Someone was calling for help inside. It was in a quite rural area, and I couldn't see any other people nearby. I had no choice but to rush in. Inside the raging fire, I carried a little child on my back while trying to get out of the house. My pants caught fire. A nearby cabinet collapsed, and 2 nails sticking out from a piece of wood caught me in the neck. The only thought I had in my mind was, why am I so unlucky? I was just passing by. So when the kid I had just saved was crying and thanking me, I suddenly wanted to say something funny to him. I remembered a line from a cartoon that was on TV every day. The hero of the show would yell the same line at the end of every episode. I imitated him and yelled, "This is my justice." The little kid laughed. So did I. Later, I became a policeman, although not many good things happened to me since then. Disappointment, despair, a feeling of powerlessness when I wanted so badly to accomplish something but couldn't. Still, I knew I hadn't made the wrong decision. I had no regrets. Nice, that's the S ring there. And that's a new letter. Rotten. Okay, Off we go.